Dragon Ball Z is a big fantasy world. Everybody knows Goku is legendary. But since the Dragon Ball universe is so vast and wide, there's other legendary characters as well other than Goku. For one, in the Dragon Ball universe, it's a lot of fantasy, so there's a lot of different type of races or species in the universe, like demons, other races like fantasy creatures like dragons. Similar to our real life, like Earthlings exist in this Dragon Ball universe, like just normal humans that don't want to take the time to learn martial arts or ki control or training or anything. Alien races like the Frieza race, for example, Namekians. One of the main ones we're familiar with is the Saiyans. That's because Goku and Vegeta are Saiyans. You got the top of the hierarchy, beings like angels, dinosaurs, and such exist. It could just keep going on, blah, blah, blah. But let's talk about scientific type stuff in this universe. You know, there's smart people. Like this super smart scientific being like Dr. Gero, who's smart enough to make himself into an artificial human, or one could say android, and doing this made him super strong and all that good stuff without just being a normal human that's just smart. I would love to know what he made these androids out of, because they can fight freaking beings that can destroy planets and stars and stuff. It did take a lot of trial and error. Like the first 7 androids was trash, 8 became cool with the person he was supposed to kill, 9 through 15 were defective, 16 was a failure. Some were just purely mechanical, like Dr. Gero himself, and then some were just humans with scientific enhancements, like Android 17 and 18. There were some of his most successful ones, but even they were defective because they turned on him himself. But apparently his ultimate android, and the one I'm going to be going over in this video, is this being known as Cell. He's an interesting one because he's not really human at all, but he's not purely robotic, mechanical, wiring, bucket of bolts type. But rather, Cell is the type that's kind of bioorganic, to where he's almost, one could say, he can bleed and stuff. Pretty much introducing him right here. Let's talk about him. He attempted to use biotechnology with the dream of creating a new type of artificial human. He actually had his computer. Yeah, computer was really smart. Reminds us of today's form of Siri. His computer actually finished the job unattended. And one of the things you're going to see a common theme in this video, I'm just going to let you know that off bat. This guy can pretty much do all the major stuff our favorite characters can do. He literally has all the cells of some of the strongest fighters we've seen. So don't be surprised if I bring up these characters like Goku, Piccolo, Vegeta, Frieza, Frieza's father, along with many other organisms. His goal was to absorb other powerful androids 17 and 18 who are also strong in their own right, and all their power will be combined with his to increase his power even further, which is why he gets different forms. So yeah, he quite literally went through an evolution. But let's get it started. How strong is Cell? Let's talk about him. So throughout this video, don't be surprised when you see his different forms, because he literally went through power progression and evolutions depending on which android he absorbed. His goal was to absorb them both. This is how he looks when he has no androids absorbed. This is how he looks when he has one of the androids absorbed. And this is how he looks when he has both of them absorbed. His perfect self, his true strength. When we're talking about Cell, one can make an argument he's one of the most versatile characters known to man, because he literally has all the DNA or skills or cells of our favorite characters in the show up to this point. And that means he also has their techniques along with super strength, super speed. So just like other DBZ characters, he can punch really hard because he has super strength and all that good stuff. And you know the famous energy blast a lot of Dragon Ball Z characters can do. He can do concentrated piercing type of blasts like the death beam because of Frieza. The famous energy blast technique known as the Kamehameha he can do. Just like how he has Vegeta's cells inside of him, he technically should be able to do the Gallic gun technique. It only makes sense. Gigantic energy barriers to where he can basically shield himself like an invisible woman. He can, energy barriers. I mean, when he absorbed his other android, he had a barrier around him to where nobody can hit him. He was in the middle of transforming to let you know how hard stuff his barriers can withstand. Teleportation techniques like the instant transmission to where he can go anywhere in the universe as long as he can sense a key signal. He's technically one of the rare beings, since he has Goku's genetics in him. Technically, he's one of the few beings that can actually summon a spirit bomb, one of the most hexy techniques of all time, to where even if you're strong in the character, you can kind of cheat by getting energy from the environment or others that are willing to help to make a ridiculously powerful blast that can actually take you out even if you're stronger than him. If he has certain androids absorbed, he can kind of confuse you and make his voice sound like theirs to kind of trick you to convince you to be a part of him. Like he tried to do the 18, which I'm going to talk about later on in this vid. He can do super screams like this to where everybody can hear him. You're talking about one loud yell. Another hatchy thing that he can do to kind of make himself stronger via cheating, just going around the universe if he wanted to, just absorbing random entities or something to increase his strength or power if needed. Or if he wants to get an edge in a fight, if he's really losing really bad, he can catch you off guard and stab you with his tail to kind of absorb some of your essence into him. Similar to how he has the genetics of Piccolo himself, it's only natural. He can technically spawn descendants, or one could say lay eggs. When he was in his perfect form, he did this. He spawned these beings known as Cell Juniors, who were nowhere near his level of strength, but still strong enough to mess up Super Saiyans and stuff. And he spawned a few of them. He can do tricky, blinding light type techniques like the solar flare, something to help make himself get an opening or escape if he needs to by hurting their opponent's eyes. This is one of the few techniques that seems to work on anybody, no matter how strong you are, because it hurts your eyes. Oh, did I mention he can regenerate from any injury as long as his core is still intact? You got occasions like this when he gets his tail ripped off. Yeah, and you think it's the end. Well, it's not, because he has Piccolo cells inside of him. It gashed him that bad, but he was able to regenerate from this thanks to Piccolo. You know, he has weird miscellaneous techniques where he can blow himself up like a balloon to the point where he's literally filled up with energy where he will pop if you try to punch him, and it would pretty much just destroy everybody you love. You know, it's natural since he's one of those characters that can control energy. He can use his mind and pick up stuff without touching it physically. I mean, one can say starting off the video with a bang, it's already proven he pretty much can lift mountains up if he felt like it. Or one could say easily thousands of tons. This is one of his greater forms that I'm gonna talk about more in the video, but yo, this is just casual stuff for people in this verse. Destroying islands. He's talking about it casually about how he's just trying to blow it up with casual energy blasts to pretty much make Android 18 come out of hiding, because you know his goal is to absorb Android 18 and 17 and stuff like that. Just obliterated it like nothing. Light work stuff for Dragon Ball. Yeah, he just casually, each of these blasts have enough raw power, like nukes basically. Getting blasted away multiple islands back to back with ease. Yeah, it's just confirmed that he blew up the near island. And he was just going to destroy the entire area, because why not? It's proven whatever their blast power is, their physical attacks or strikes can hit as hard, because we see this happen a lot of times in Dragon Ball when a character deflects an attack with a physical elbow or something, or deflects it away. Cell can do this too. Let's really start talking about his punching power, blast power, and all that good stuff. First of all, let's talk about his evolution right quick. You're probably wondering why I have two pictures of him in his first form. Is because without even absorbing androids, he made drastic power increases just from his first form, going around absorbing people. So much so that his power increased so much to where at first, when Cell and Piccolo fought in his first form, it's clear that Piccolo had the advantage when it comes to raw strength and power. Don't get it twisted. He still wasn't weak, but he wasn't on the level of Piccolo in this exact second, because he just got done fusing with Kami and stuff, and he was way more powerful than ever before. So it was clear that, yeah, Piccolo kind of had his number. Despite Piccolo being, one could say, had the advantage over him, remember Piccolo still had his weighted training clothes on, so he was technically suppressed. Cell was still strong enough to do this to Piccolo during this time period, so it lets you know that Cell still wasn't weak. But Cell was strong here, but he was not strong enough to take on Piccolo at this point in time, and Trunks that just popped up. He said, nah, I gotta go, so he did something to escape. When he reappeared, I'm going to show you in 2 seconds when he reappeared. But look, this is what he did in the meantime after he ran away, absorbing people. You see the clothes literally on the ground flat. Notice how he pulled up on him this time. He was way more confident because he's still in people's power and life force. Notice how when he powered up, look how nervous Piccolo looked. It showed that he went through a drastic metamorphosis without even having to absorb androids at this point. Piccolo's literally scared of his new power, to where he was literally trembling. Piccolo literally said, I can't believe you managed to power up this much. How many innocent lives did you have to sacrifice to do this? Piccolo's ridiculously strong. He tries to punch Cell. He blocks it. This also shows his fighting speed and shows how strong he's gotten, doing severe damage to him with a punch, kicks him away like a fly. Let's just get this straight. He literally stood there while Piccolo did a super blast, and he was fine after all this. After that, confirmed he hasn't taken any damage. I'm pretty sure I bring this up every video, but even Piccolo, when he was way weaker back in the day, can blast apart entire planetoid structures like the moon itself. So it's pretty obvious Cell in his first form, of course he could blast the moon apart if he wanted to. He would honestly be able to do this with probably less than 1% of his strength or blast power, because this version of Piccolo is way stronger than a version of Piccolo that did that. And plus he got Piccolo cells inside of him anyway. His punching power literally one-shot punched him to where Piccolo was basically defenseless, and he pretty much proved how much blast power he got. Yeah, pretty much taking Piccolo out the fight. I mean, this being's name is Cell. He literally has the cells of some of the strongest fighters, like I already showed earlier. Goku, Piccolo, the guy that can blast away Moon, he has the cells of Frieza. I don't think you guys realize why having Frieza cells is insane, considering what Frieza has done. Like, I don't think you guys realize how effortless planet busting is in Dragon Ball when it comes to blasting away planets. And this is the thing, Frieza has multiple forms. His first form, his weakest form, Frieza can destroy entire planets that make big beams like this. He can just produce on a whim. So if Frieza can destroy planets in his first form and his power level is only this, he has forms that can literally multiply this number by over a factor of over 200 times to increase his already planet busting power times over hundreds or 200 times or even 300 times power. they're 300 times planet busting level at this point. And Frieza was able to compete with a very early Super Saiyan character. You know how Super Saiyans are. So these beings are all on the hundreds of times past planet busting level. Probably can blow away a planet hundreds of times bigger than Earth at this point. And Frieza, when he had an even stronger form, tried to blast a Super Saiyan. Super Saiyans at this point can literally catch Frieza's attacks like it ain't no big deal with their bare hands. Despite these beings being over 300 times past planet-shattering levels of power, these androids literally treated these Super Saiyans like massive jokes. Both 17 and 18 are pretty similar in power, with 17 having an advantage in raw power. You're probably wondering why I'm bringing this up. This is kind of important because Super Saiyans are over hundreds of times planet-shattering level. These androids treat the Super Saiyans like a joke, and Cell in his first form can kind of manhandle these androids that treat Super Saiyans like jokes in his first form because he absorbed so many instant lives, he's gotten this strong. Not to mention, he's already stronger than him like this, right? Imagine when he actually absorbs this same android that's above Super Saiyans. Like, you see this? Android 16, one of the few androids that can actually read energy levels with numbers and stuff, he literally said Cell's battle power was too great for even Android 17 and Piccolo. So it's not my opinion. Like, it was so bad, even Android 18 was doubting her brother. She was saying, is he holding back or something? No, Cell is making it seem like they're holding back because he's so strong. It's wild to think about this like this, but his blast power can obviously blow away the Earth. I would even go as far as saying, since he's so many times past planet-shattering level because he's above Super Saiyans, well, the base form Super Saiyans, even above Piccolo, who's above Super Saiyans. I mean, planets do vary in size, so I think since we know he's above a planet like Earth, he can blast that away. One could say and argue he could blast away a bigger planet or bigger type planets. You know what I mean? Not to mention in later forms, weaker characters can do this, but it's literally stated on panel, he would destroy the Earth. If he did a Kamehameha like this, which a form I'm going to go over later, his perfect form, you know. I mean, it's literally stated right here he can destroy the Earth with just detonating. They can planet bust. I mean, they literally said the Earth would be no more when Cell was going to self-destruct here, so they can definitely destroy the Earth, duh. If weaker beings way weaker than him can do it. In Dragon Ball, the newer the villain is, the more than likely he's going to be stronger than the previous villains from the previous saga, right? Not to mention, Cell literally has it in his lore. He has the actual cells of major characters like Goku, Vegeta. It's no surprise that we know Vegeta's gotten strong as time went by, but even during his earlier days, weakest days of the show, one could say, he still had the blast power to blast away the Earth, and Cell has his cells inside of him. Him and Goku, even in their weaker days, could blast away the Earth. Him being able to blast away stuff like this seems to add up with the lore. He's way past planet-shattering level at this point, especially Earth-shattering. The only android that was a match for him at this time was Android 16, who was mostly mechanical, basically. This one android is actually stronger than 17 and 18. So yeah, Cell was strong like this, but 16 can match him. But you already know what time it is. You already know that he does have to get him, you know. That's where the excitement comes, to where he gets powered up into his newer form. So pretty much anything he can do before, he can do even better now. His ki and power just rose tremendously. He literally just absorbed a being that has strength that surpasses Super Saiyans. So you got to put this guy's power in their perspective. But then you got to remember, anything 17 can do, he can do that stuff too. He literally absorbed them and got all the stuff he can do and powered himself up. So anything 17 and himself can do previously, he can do better like this. I definitely believe in this mode, he can definitely punch apart Jupiter-sized planets if he wished, or if he wanted to blast them away, he could. One can even argue certain stars, depending on if they're dwarf stars, small stars, he could probably take out them too if he wished, you know, way past planet-shattering level, you know what I mean, by a lot. Just to give you some perspective on how much he improved, 16 was one of the few androids that can battle him like this in his first state, even though he absorbed a lot of power. He's way stronger than Piccolo that's fused. But the moment he absorbs Android 17, the strength gap is astronomical. They even mention on how incredible his speed has gotten. Proving all his statistics improved, not just his strength, his speed improved as well. Look at the astronomical power difference now. He can't even make him flinch with punches. And simply blast him away, doing critical damage to him, like lets you know the power increase was crazy. Like I mentioned earlier, power progression. One of Tien's most flashy feats of all time. You guys remember this, but Cell was able to eat these attacks over and over again and was just straight up eating it. This pretty much burnt Tien out though, doing this, and this didn't really do no damage to him either though. When Vegeta had his ascended form, now this is where Cell was actually outmatched by him in this state. One can say these self-destructive type techniques are more powerful than their normal blasts, because even though he's in a weakened state like this, Goku in this current state is actually stronger than Cell. That's the part that's crazy. But it's funny that this detonation was still enough to actually kill Goku regardless of this. I mean, Cell was literally in a form that was way weaker than this form, but his detonation technique, one could say taxi, was actually able to kill a being on full powered Super Saiyan tier. It's crazy, right? He literally has a halo, and Cell was still able to kill him, even though Goku was stronger. But that's not my business. But yeah, you guys saw this coming. Of course, he has to achieve his perfect form, right? By absorbing Android 18. So he has both 17 and 18. He absorbed 2 people that are above Super Saiyans. Well, at least the weakest base form Super Saiyan. It's not rocket science that its durability, everything, every statistic you can think of got a drastic power increase. Dang near almost decapitated Krillin here while just practicing his punches because he likes his new body. So just to give you a quick perspective on how much stronger his perfect form is compared to his previous form, which couldn't do nothing to this form, this super Vegeta form. In his perfect form, he kind of treats this buffed up version of Vegeta like a joke. Like, look how he's blocking all of Vegeta's hits this time. At first, he couldn't react to him. It was so bad to where Cell was kind of trolling and suppressing his energy to where even it had Android 16 fooled for a second. Talking about, wait a minute, he's gotten stronger, but he's still not in Vegeta's league, apparently. But if he's not in Vegeta's league, why does he look so confident here, you know? Calling this a warm-up. And it was at this moment Vegeta knew he was done. He actually got a direct hit, and Cell is smiling. Yeah, it was this moment he realized he was outclassed by Cell. Cell using his super strength to kick him back through a mountain. I think a good way to look at Cell's power is to look at the different levels of Super Saiyan in this saga. Like, there's been a lot of different Super Saiyans in this saga. You know, you got the base form Super Saiyan, early stage Super Saiyans, right? When it comes to the different androids in this saga, if Android 17 and 18 had to fit somewhere, they would be considered above this version of a Super Saiyan, but weaker than these versions of the Super Saiyan all the way up front like that. But when it comes to beings like Cell, it took Cell a little while to get past some of these ascended Super Saiyan forms. When it comes with class of power Cell is, he would be in this ballpark when it comes to perfected Super Saiyan 1, when these are imperfect. But perfect Cell is above these. Heck, Cell can even troll these forms and get buffed up if he felt like it too. But forms like this sacrifice speed, so there's no point in using it. Well, it shows he has similar transformations to the Saiyans. He does have Saiyan DNA though. Yeah, Super Saiyan grade 1, grade 2, you know, grade 3. His punches, strikes, or kicks can hit beings on this level so hard, even though he couldn't previously. Lets you know how strong this perfect form is, made him completely sleepy, turning them back to normal. Brain fart time. Despite all these Saiyans getting these new transformations, all this training, even Goku himself, who got a new full-powered Super Saiyan form, Cell, when he was battling these forms in strength and martial arts or just raw power in general, even against Super Saiyans like Gohan, who was full-powered Super Saiyan level, he was holding back all that time. We had thought he was fighting Goku, Super Saiyan 1 Gohan and them for real. When he decides to actually power up, this is the first time we actually seen his real power, and the planet was trembling. So Goku, even when he fought you, he still wasn't fighting all out. Yeah, this is when Gohan was at super busted, Super Saiyan 2 tier. He wasn't Super Saiyan 2 tier yet. But thanks to the Saiyan genetics letting him come back from near death, he actually got another power up after being almost killed. And without having Android 18, he's powered up like Gohan. Saiyan cells to boost his power after the brush from death. Yeah, he was kind of getting humiliated before this power-up. So he wasn't Super Saiyan 2 tier. Actually, somewhat gets somewhere in the ballpark of Super Saiyan 2 tier thanks to the Zenkai boost, near-death stuff. Yeah, Vegeta, I know you're mad about your son, but these blasts ain't gonna cut it. He just literally runs through the blast. One shot chops you defenseless. Not to mention Cell's blast power. Even though Gohan's more powered up than ever before, his blast can still do serious damage to Gohan in this powered up state. Yeah, that bad. Now, this is where we get into some juicy stuff. One of the most controversial things in Dragon Ball is the statement when Cell was about to charge up this massive, crazy Kamehameha blast, not only destroy the Earth, but he stated that he would have enough chi to destroy the entire solar system with his blast power in this super perfect state. If planet busting and being way past Earth-shattering level wasn't a thing, I would think this statement is an exaggeration, but when you think about the past beings that are way weaker than him, that can blast away Earth over 200 times over, or planets like that, this kind of adds up with the lore and writer intent. I mean, after all, if Super Saiyans that are way lesser grade can blast over hundreds of Earths and stuff, what the heck do you think somebody that's Super Saiyan 2 tier can do? I will admit myself, this is one of those feats that's always confused me. Like, how would he blast away the solar system? Would he line the planets up in a straight line? Or when he blasts, the blast goes from one planet, then goes to the next one and like that? Is that what they mean by blasting away the solar system? Or do they mean he does one blast And after his blast is done, the explosion literally starts getting so wide that it encompasses the entire solar system until the whole solar system is wiped out. Is that what they mean by blowing away the solar system? Because the solar system is freaking wide. The blast has to reach multiple planets that are very far away from each other. Having the blast power to blast away an entire solar system is a ridiculous amount of blast power, regardless of how you want to look at it. I mean, the blast was causing worldwide collateral damage. Everybody on the planet was feeling the impacts of him charging it up. This was about to be a massive wave. I mean, think about it, man. This dude, Cell, got so powered up, Gohan couldn't really use one of his arms. Notice when they clash, beings on the other side of the planet are feeling the effects. But yeah, he's the bad guy, so even though he had this kind of power, the good guys had to win. He wasn't quite on the level of Gohan, though, even when his power was cut in half. So he was kind of somewhere in the Super Saiyan 2 century tier, but not quite there. You know what I mean? But yeah, Cell is still ridiculously insane. He has ridiculous potential that nobody wants to talk about. Because you guys remember how strong Frieza is. You remember this dude, first time training ever, was able to achieve divine levels of power and was able to slugfest with forms that can shake multiple universes with their punches and crap. And then he gets a higher form like Frieza Black that can one-shot at Goku and Vegeta and some of their mightiest forms of all time, like Ultra Instinct, Divine Angelic Form, Technique, and then Ultra Ego, the God of Destruction stuff. You're probably wondering what the heck does this have to do with Cell? Cell has this guy's cells in him. He has Frieza's genetics in him. He could have trained for a month or something and achieved Super Saiyan 3 levels the way Frieza improves fast like this. Not to mention Cell has Frieza's genetics and has the same genetics for Zenkai Boost. Zenkai Boost probably would even be crazier mixed with Frieza's genetics and crap. Yeah, Cell's potential is just scary. He's one of those characters where if he did get another Zenkai boost during that same saga, he'd probably been stronger than Super Saiyan Gohan for that at that moment. We know Goku has gotten a lot of different forms, or Saiyans in general has gotten a lot of different forms since the Super Saiyan 1 era. This is where Cell was. Maybe a lower end of Super Saiyan 2. But he definitely wasn't nowhere near this, or nowhere near all these different forms Goku's gotten throughout the years of improving after that saga. You remember that one android that he absorbed? Android 17. So he absorbed all of his abilities, or one could say absorbed his potential, and we know the potential of Android 17 in the future is kind of crazy. No matter which version we're talking about, Android 17 has definitely surpassed Super Saiyan 2 tier, because even in the manga version they implied it. The fact Goku even had to use Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 against this being that used to be inside of Cell. Cell used to have all the potential of this guy as well. So who's to say Cell couldn't achieve Super Saiyan 3 levels or above? Or in the anime, they make it seem Android 17 has achieved somewhere close to Super Saiyan Red or Super Saiyan God level or Super Saiyan Blue level. This is actually pretty wild that one of the androids Cell absorbed has this kind of potential. What the heck can Cell do in his perfect state? What's Cell's perfect state potential? Having Frieza's prodigy type genetics plus the Saiyan genetics plus Android 17's genetics, it's just not fair. But that's something to think about, right? But what do you guys think? Do you respect Cell? How do you like his blast power? Do you think he's a cheat code because he has everybody's techniques? What do you think? I personally want to thank you all for the donations. It helps out a lot. Respect Cell, though. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.